Hello everybody, it's Mark T here. I'm here to do a review on the first episode of Beware the Batman. I know this is my first time reviewing a cartoon show, so, you know, like with Doctor Who, I'm going to be doing every episode as it comes. First things off to say, I don't really like the look of Batman himself. It just, I don't know, just for some reason when I look at Batman, he reminds me of the Val Kilmer Batman for some reason. As well, the animation is okay. I don't mind it, but you know, I'm no fan of like the 3D CG aspects. But you know, it's the point of the show. Like the show itself is what you know steals the show, whether you like it or not. So the animation isn't that big a deal, at least for me. Aside from that, though, the first episode is actually pretty introductory. You know, classic startup. We get Batman taking on a few burglars trying to steal some stuff. Apparently in this world, unlike the original animated series, there's, you know, more futuristic technology, like more lasers and you know, gauntlets of things, but, you know, So, first villain we run into in this episode is Professor Pig, who I hear is actually, has a very dark, you know, is a very dark Batman villain. I don't know much about him. I know very little about the comics with him in it. I'll look it up later, but you know, but from what I know of him, he's changed. It's very different. You know, he's a very different kind of villain in a certain aspect because he seems to be more like one of the Captain Planet Planeteers, except he uses more violent approach than they would. But like I said, I know very little about the character, so he might be like that, except a bit more extreme in the comics. So, yeah. We go to Alfred, who I'm not sure whether this is true either, but in this series, Alfred was apparently a spy, and he actually, like, after Bruce had come back from training, which I'm assuming, like, they go with, like, the regular history of him going away for a couple of years training. Now Alfred is basically sort of a hard-boiled kind of spy, you know, so he's kind of, you know, the classic veteran coming out of an action-packed job that's just not quite used to, you know, just the slow pace of just regular living, but for some reason he's Bruce's butler as well as his bodyguard, so, you know, and also what's funny is that he kind of wants to get into the action of you know, fighting, you know, like being Bruce's sidekick, but you know, Bruce doesn't really want him to be a sidekick. He just wants him to be his guardian. So yeah, at the end of this episode, the whole crux of this episode is basically based on industrialists being captured by Professor Pig, as well as Alfred, and Bruce's Batman has to save them. In the end, he does save them, and he ends up blowing up the building that he was fighting Professor Pig in. It was an okay first episode, I'll say. The episode ends with Alfred, like, saying that basically he's not going to live forever, so he always wants to make sure that Bruce is going to be protected. So a new character is introduced to be his new driver and sidekick. I don't know what her name is. I just watched the episode. I just can't remember. But for the most part, it was okay. It was a decent first episode, but I do hope that they work a bit harder in the future. But aside from that, it's okay, you know. So, if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. Later.